happiness. So our first event is a live podcast panel by All That Yazz. And this is their first podcast recorded in front of a live audience. And today, and today they have a guest, Kevin Smith, who will be talking all things entertainment law as it relates to contracts and IP. I'm excited to hear that because I've been watching a lot of people who don't read their contracts, who have no idea what they're doing, and they don't own their business. So right now, we're about to go to school. I hope you guys are ready. Please do welcome All That Yazz.
One, two, 1, 2. We here? Cool. How you guys doing? I am quite, I will not lie, I'm very nervous. This is the first time, because usually I do All That Yazz like behind my computer screen. So when I'm talking to my guest, I'm just talking to a computer screen in my bedroom, but this is the first time we're doing it all live. But I have been very, very, very excited to do the intro for All That Yazz in a live setting. So here we are. We're going live in 3, 2, 1. And good people and fellow students, welcome to the 50th episode of All That Yazz, which is our first live recording. How you guys feeling? As I already said, I'm feeling quite nervous, but today we have a very, very important conversation that we're going to be having, as Leo has already spoken about. And this guest is a jack of all trades. When I say jack of all trades, I know we've introduced him as a venerated lawyer, and he's an entertainment lawyer. He is a partner at Nguniverse Law, and his range in law is quite expansive. But also, he's an artist. This man is a pianist. He's done his own exhibitions of actual fine art. So when actually having this conversation, I think it's going to be quite important because we have a lawyer who also understands the creative art process. He is, I've known him for about a year now, but we've been connected in different ways for much longer than that. It is Kevin Smith. Please welcome to the stage. Now, Kevin, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thanks for having me. Morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, is there anything is there anything you'd like to add that I may have missed from the intro that I've just given you?
No, I think you've pretty much covered it. Law, I'm a partner at my own law firm, exhibited artist, pianist, guitarist, pretty much do it all.
Now, I'm curious, since you, from what I've seen, your relationship with art started way back. You used to draw Dragon Ball Z, used to draw Dragon Ball Z art as well as different types of anime. Where exactly, at what point did your relationship with art begin?
I don't think I had a specific point when it began. It's something that's always been there. Some of my earliest memories of life, I remember myself either drawing on random pieces of paper, drawing on the wall, drawing in sand, so art has always been there for me. So through the progression of life, I think it just integrates more into your everyday enjoyment of life until it becomes a profession, which it is now for me.
And at what point, because since we have both art and law, which one did you decide first as actually trying to take on professionally? Was it law or was it art first?
It was art. I actually applied to study fine art. I got accepted. But when you have parents of color, they don't believe in creative degrees. So I had a situation where my father actually said he wouldn't pay for my fees, and I had to change what I had to study. Then coincidentally, I did a year of BA where I did politics, philosophy, and then thereafter I was accepted into law school. So essentially I was not intending to become a lawyer at first. I was intending to be a creative, but given that I have colored parents, they thought art isn't necessarily going to make you any money in this life, so you had to do something more appropriate.
Yeah.
And so I chose to do the law, and it's worked out.
Sweet. So that means you studied, you said politics, and then then you got into law.
Yeah. So, well, my BA undergrad was in English, philosophy, politics, and psychology.
So then what made you then finally decide to settle on law as the thing which was going to be what could make your parents happy, since from what I'm understanding that was part of the reasoning as to going into law?
Yeah. Well, essentially it was more along the lines of what can I do that can give me access to other things as well. So if you look at the traditional careers that your parents may want you to do, it would be accounting, economics, doctor,
Engineering.
Exactly, So law wasn't part of the list that they gave me. So I was also still a bit rebellious in that. Where I was like, okay, I'm not going to do what you guys want. I'll do something.
You've always been a rebel then.
Exactly. But when you look into it, I mean, law has access everywhere. If you think about what we're doing now, the legal implications of having the marketing displayed in a certain way, having public screenings of cinematographic films, the recording of this podcast, there are legal implications in literally everything that we do. So when I looked into what the essence of these careers may be, I saw that law is the one that is all-encompassing and universal, in the same way that art and creativity is all-encompassing and universal. So I felt as though going into the legal space may still give me the essence that I have access to, that untapped universal energy that I felt being creative. And it just so happens that with how law infiltrates itself into every aspect of our lives, I managed to get that synergy.
It's a very interesting thing, because I also know, because also my brother, he does accounting, and he says there are like a number of jobs which if you do them, you can almost essentially go into any space. Law, because law is needed everywhere, accounting is needed everywhere. But what I'm very then curious about, since you've now studied law and you've gotten into copyright, how has becoming a lawyer shaped your understanding of the concept of IP and copyright as an artist?
So I'll take it back to times when I was practicing the law in different spaces. So I'll start with the contractual aspects first, and then how the intellectual property opened my eyes as to what art actually is. So from a creative perspective, I mean, all other creatives may agree with me when I say this. Being creative is just who you are. You can't necessarily place an identifier or put your finger on why you want to be creative or why you want to express your creativity. It just is, right? So you never think about how this applies to the market or how it applies to economics in particular. Now, when you move into the legal space isn't necessarily worried about the reason for you doing something. It's just there to ensure that you formalize it in a way that's accepted within the economic system that you're under or within the regulatory framework that you're working in. Now, that allows you to see things from two different ways. A creative sees something from the need to express, whereas a lawyer would see something in the need to protect and to make sure that you can benefit from that expression as much as possible. So when you look at intellectual property law in itself, what it actually does is it gives you access to certain business models. So that's what IP law actually is. So when you change your perspective on seeing it as a regulatory framework to more as an allower for you to access different business models, you can actually see the intent behind it. So that's where things like trademark, there's a differentiation between trademark, patenting, copyright, because each one of those gives you access to a different economic model.
Well, then can you then give us like a bit of a difference between the three as to what the difference is between a trademark, copyright, and those three different levels?
So I'll get to that. So just as being a creative, what you can create could either be in each one of those three categories, but you won't necessarily see it that way because you don't understand the economic model that's behind each of those creations.
Yeah.
All right. So if we start with a patent, for instance, a patent is for a novel invention or a new creation that isn't yet within the market. So that can be either something that's aesthetic or can be functional. Easy example of that would be like, for instance, a bottle cap. It has a design element, but it's also a functional design. And that design element can be applied across industries. So you see the economic model there is allowing an invention to make either one specific industry or many industries easier, either the means of production or the means of access to market. Now then, when you look into trademark is more focused on what identifies your company to the average consumer. So the trademark can either be a certain color scheme that your company is known for, the logo that they may use, slogans that they may use. Some companies even incorporate what's called a sound mark. Now a lot of people don't know what a sound mark is, but for instance, if you have a phone, when you switch that phone on and it has a jingle on the startup, that would be the sound mark, because people can identify that sound to your company. So you see, we've already discussed two different economic models here. One is the use of an invention and how your invention can be used on a wide scale basis. That's what a patent would be for. Trademark would be to protect the goodwill and your consumer base to your specific company, so that someone else may not use what you've already applied within the market to get a certain customer base to their newly formed company or newly formed product, because then the consumer would think maybe this new product has an association with BAI, and their intent to either engage with that company maybe because they thought it was BAI or they thought you were behind it. So the economic model there is just to protect your consumer base. Now, when you look into copyright in particular, copyright is actually protecting your creation as a creation, because copyright lies in cinematographic work, musical work, literary works, things of that nature. So the three business models are: first, we're going to protect the creative element of your expression. Then is that creative element going to be applied either in an industrial setting, or is it going to be applied in the open market creatively? Then you differentiate between, are we going into trademark, are we going into patenting, etc.